great. Facebook is on. Good morning, Facebook. Hi, happy Coffee Talk Tuesday. Okay, guys. As I always tell you, you know I love Instagram and I love Instagram stories. So today what we're going to talk about is how to leverage your Instagram stories to promote your products. Instagram stories is being used more and more all the time. And I told you 2 weeks ago that when I use Instagram stories for us and or for our clients, we get more followers and we get more engagement. So please be using your Instagram stories. Now, I'm going to give you 5 tips today on how to leverage your Instagram stories to promote your products. Okay. First, what we're going to do is, good morning. Thanks for joining. We're going to talk about IG stories. So IG stories, you can really create a sense of urgency and scarcity when you're trying to promote a product or to sell a product, right? I mean, that's like marketing 101, right? I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, but one of the biggest ones is QVC. We've all seen QVC, and we all see how they have a ticker on the side, right? They have a time, they have how many of the product they have, how many of the product are being sold every second. It gives you a sense of urgency and scarcity, and it works, right? People want to buy because they don't want to be left out. So I'm going to talk about that in one of the other steps, but basically we're going to be using Instagram stories in the same way. So what we want to do, if you guys looked at our IG stories, what we do is we always have on our counter, right? You can, on IG stories, you can use the countdown feature. And so the countdown feature is really great because people can tap on that countdown feature. I didn't know if you guys knew this. You can tap on that countdown feature and it gives you a pop-up. And the pop-up gives you the option to hit remind me, let me know when the countdown's over, and or to share. So you can, and you can tell people this. Be sure to tell people this. Tap on the countdown feature to get a reminder, right? You have to give people instructions. But the countdown feature is great because it really does give you the sense of urgency. And then also somebody can hit on it and they can get a reminder, or they can share your post. So that's my first tip. Please use the countdown feature when you're going to promote your product or make a promotion. The second thing is I'm going to talk about highlights. Everybody should be using highlights on Instagram. So if you look at our Instagram, we have the highlights. The basic ones that everybody does is like about us, right? You want to use about us, the locations, about your what you do, testimonials, things like that. But if you're going to have a product or make a promotion, you can use those highlights temporarily. You don't have to keep those highlights there. You can just use them for that product at the time. So what you're going to want to do is make a highlight for each section of that promotion. So it makes it easy for someone to check on the product. So you can make one like the portfolio of the product, about the product, testimonials of the product, just the product that you're going to promote. This way people can go right to that highlight and learn about it, because you want to keep bringing them down the marketing funnel, right? So you have to make things very easy for people. So that's my second tip, is to use your IG highlights, your story highlights for your product promotion. 2 weeks ago, I told you guys, 2 weeks ago, I showed you guys how to use, if you don't have 10,000 followers, how to get the swipe up feature. So if you missed that, go back. You can go onto our YouTube channel. You can also go onto Stark Media Marketing Facebook group, because I wrote it out there for you. But I showed you how to use a swipe up feature, a link to swipe up to go to an IGTV story if you don't have 10,000 followers. So a great way also to use this for your product is if you've made IGTV videos about your product, make an IGTV highlight. Put those into the highlights. This way people can go right to that highlight. They can go through them and they can find the video about the product, and it makes it much easier about them. They can learn about them. They can learn about it. So you can also make that. None of those highlights have to stay there. After your promotion, you can just erase them, get rid of them. So highlights can come and go. People think that they have to stay, but they can come and go. The other thing is, all right, so I told you about the IGTV. The third thing to do is, good morning, Fred. The third thing to do is you can do a giveaway, right? You can do an IGTV, and you can do an Instagram story giveaway. And so this also creates social proof. So if you encourage people, if they have your product or they've used your product, if you encourage them to post it onto their stories and to tag you, not only can you reuse that post, but it's also social proof that they're using your product, that they like your product, that your product's being used. I mean, it's like knowing someone who's already done it. It's a recommendation. Social proof works in social media. And this is where I was going to talk about it. No, in the next one. Everybody saw those commercials for FabFitFun where they would send this box to like a celebrity or someone well-known, and then they would open the box. It was all exciting, and they would talk about the products in there. It was like the box reveal. That's kind of the same thing. Like they're getting your product, they're talking about it, they're showing it. That's social proof. That's exactly what FabFitFun did. It was all social proof, and clearly it worked. Then the fourth thing I want to tell you guys is, you can use the IG stories in communicating the scarcity. For instance, say you have scarves that you're going to sell and you have 20 scarves. If you create a post that say like it has 20 boxes, and in each box you put like a little scarf, as the day goes on and you're selling your product, you can go back into your IGTV stories and mark off those boxes. It's showing that people are buying it. It's showing scarcity. It's showing urgency. It's showing that your product is being sold. So if people are checking your IG stories through the day and you're changing it through the day, they're going to see that this product that you're promoting is actually being bought. So this is another great way to create that scarcity and urgency on stories and use it for your product promotion. That's where I was going to refer also to the QVC. That's why they have the counter. The counter works, right? It creates that sense of like urgency when you're watching this clock like go down, and the amount of product they have go down, and the amount that people are buying go up, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be left out. I want to buy one too. So it does really work. Lastly, what I want to talk about is going live. Now we go live every Tuesday, right? Coach Fred said, this is why I got the local bread box. Erin Colton did a reveal. Yeah, that's right. They work. I'm telling you. The last thing I want to talk about is going live. So we go live every Tuesday, right? But if you're going to have a product, it's really great to talk about it. It's great to have Q&A sessions. Something you can do on Instagram stories is you can send out, you can use the question sticker, right? So Instagram stories gives you the ability to put lots of stickers on. So you can use the question sticker, ask people to ask you a product about ask people to ask you a question about your product, or ask a question about your product. People can answer them. Now, if you go on to Instagram stories live within 24 hours of asking that question, okay, you'll be able to go on, you'll see the question reveal at the bottom. You hit that, you'll see the questions that people asked you, and you can start to answer them. But it has to be within 24 hours of you putting up your question on Instagram stories. But this is great. You can pick and choose which questions you want to answer, and you already have content right there. You've put the question out. People have responded to you. You can just go on and say, hey, like Life Coach Fred asked me this about my product. Okay, Fred, I'm going to answer that question today. So be sure to do that within 24 hours. So just to recap on the 5 tips that I gave you guys on how to leverage your Instagram stories to promote your product. Okay. Number 1, use the countdown feature. and remind people to tap on it so they get a reminder. 2, use your Instagram story highlights to talk about your product, to tell about testimonials, to give social proof. 3, host a giveaway. Ask people to talk about your product, to tag you, and then they'll receive a gift. 4, use the IG stories to communicate scarcity, where I said use the boxes and start to check off the boxes as your product is being sold. 5, go on to IG stories to promote your product and have a Q&A. And then this way you can have a rapport with people and they can ask you about your product. And remember, go back on live within 24 hours of asking your question. Lastly, what I want to say is the great thing about IG stories is, and we do it here, people want authenticity, right? So you need to be authentic on your stories. You need to communicate kind of about you, about your company. People get to know Kelsey and I because we do this. So then when they meet us face to face, they feel like they know us already. What you see here is what you get when you meet us. So being authentic on IG Live is great. Also, don't oversell your product line. A very good rule of thumb is an 80-20. So when you're going to be on any of your social channels, be sure to be informational at some point, right? You should be like 80% informational, 20% selly on your product. You don't want to create any sort of social profile where people are just swiping because you're always trying to sell your product. Nobody wants to do that. Make it fun, make it cute, use the GIFs, and be informational. Not everybody knows about your company and your product. So when you go on and you create a story or you create a post, don't assume that people are always following you. So when you make a picture, describe your picture, talk about what it is, let people know what it's about, because somebody could just be following you for the first time and they would have no idea what you're talking about. So don't always assume that everybody knows your product or your company. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope these 5 tips help you. And of course, I will put everything up on Stark Media Facebook marketing group. Be sure to join it. Everything always goes on to our YouTube channel as well. It also goes on to our Facebook group, our regular Facebook feed. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We will be back here next Tuesday at 10 o'clock for more Coffee Talk Tuesday. If you have any questions, comments, you guys can always send them in or DM us. We're more than happy to answer anything. Any subjects you want to learn about, let us know. We're happy to do a Coffee Talk Tuesday about it. Take care, stay well, and thanks for joining. Bye-bye. Have a great day, you too, Fred.